What's happening, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more David Bowie, and we're moving on to the next self-titled album, 1969. Thank you again to Judith. And this starts with a tune I do actually know by David Bowie, though for a long time I didn't actually know what it was called. That is to say, Space Oddity. Now, I don't know his larger body of work, and certainly there's been a few folks who've commented that this album is much more typical of his volume of output than the first album was, but I would guess that this tune remains one of the most well-known, one of the most used in other media, and indeed, I did actually react to a cover of this already by the one and only William Shatner, who always brings his own, deadpan delivery and insane stylings to it, although the music on the album of covers I've been going through from Mr. Shatner is always very well done. So, in any case, the point is, I'm familiar with the original, I've heard people cover this tune, and I understand it now to be part of a larger mythos built up around Major Tom in multiple songs, which I actually probably encountered through my older brother in the form of this song, and then as a kid in the 80s, I also heard the tune Major Tom Coming Home by Peter Schilling, so it's a mythos that I was on the edges of for a long time, but I now understand to be part of a multi-song elaboration, and indeed not just from Bowie himself or Mr. Schilling, but there are other artists who've written songs that have, taken their own turn at providing a chapter in the larger story. But yes, I'm familiar with this tune. While I may not remember every line, I certainly remember some of the lyrics in it and the overall atmosphere. So I don't know if this is a tune that is considered like psychedelic rock or space rock specifically, but that's kind of where my brain puts it in terms of categorization. But either way, it'll be nice to reconnect with this tune now with a slightly better understanding of where Bowie had been musically and lyrically before this. And I will say, even if it's not what he's more known for, I absolutely love the 67 self-titled album, like really quirky, lots of crazy stories, and almost like a stage, like musical type of vibe in some of the songs. So in any case, let's give it a listen. This is Space Oddity by David Bowie, the first tune on his 1969 self-titled album.
Ground control to Major Tom. Ground control to Major Tom. Take your protein pills and put your helmet on. 10. Ground control 9, to Major Tom. 8, 7, 6. Commencing countdown, engines on. 3, 2. Check ignition and may God's love be with you. This is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirt you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. This is Major Tom to ground control. I'm stepping through the door. Away, and the stars look very different today. For here am I sitting in a tin can.
I love that transition.
Planet Earth is blue, and there's nothing I can do. Spaceship knows which way to go. Tell my wife I love her very much. She knows. Ground control to Major Tom, your circuit's dead. There's something wrong. Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom? Can you hear me, Major Tom?
The haywire nature of the capsule, the entire situation feels like it comes across very notably in that last fade out section, even as it like fades out in different levels for the different parts, and it becomes a bit more dissonant, a bit more uncertain. So it feels like right to the last moment it's this conceptual expression of this story, of this scene that's painted, and I don't feel like we get any clear resolution, which, given that there are more songs in this mythos from Bowie himself, it makes sense. But yeah, I think it's fantastic. It has this beautiful sweep to it. In fact, in the moment, I was reminded, I think I've heard a Seu Jorge cover of this, who's like, I think a Brazilian artist who covers a lot of tunes in I think specifically even Bowie tunes, but like converting the lyrics to Portuguese. So, in any case, that came to me during that transition when it goes from being a bit psychedelic and floaty to that, like, notable guitar riff, which sort of grounds the track again. But yeah, it's like this really spacey excursion, like, sonically, never mind, like, the narrative of the lyrics. And I love the way it's sort of floating and psychedelic at points, but again, gets sort of grounded and more direct with some of the sonics. I think Bowie's voice sounds fantastic on it, and also, you know, we get that like countdown, and he's like playing different characters. He's playing the scientist down at ground control, but also Major Tom himself, so it's like part of this dialogue, like again, a narrative, characters, you know, reading different lines in a sort of theatrical performance, which I suppose in that one respect alone feels like it is a natural continuity or continuation from some of the material that he did on the opening album, but sonically it feels very far away from a lot of that stuff. And yes, it feels like there's a a worry, but he's also like observing, and the stars look different today as I'm passing through the door and floating in this unusual way, and we wonder, if the technology will allow us to hear more from him, which, ground control, can you hear us? Can you hear us? And we wonder, might he be stranded in a spacewalk, which, over a short period of time will become problematic, and over a longer period of time will surely be fatal. So there's an uncertainty, a bit of a danger or a worry about the narrative, but there's also this awe and this cosmic spectacle that I think comes through in the Sonics in particular, and that like deep, I think it's bass, but like that deep bass flare up in the tune, it makes me feel like there's maybe some part of the technology or the vehicle that he's in having some malfunction, but perhaps like an engine trying to turn on and keep functioning so that he might live. So there's a lot of clarity in terms of the scene that's being set, but also a bit of opacity or ambiguity in terms of what's going to happen to him and what his status is. So a really evocative track, and one that no matter who covers it or what else is done with it in other songs, I think is rightly a very significant and well-remembered tune in terms of his legacy, which again is based on a bit of my like more general perception, even without knowing his catalog. But given some of the things people have said when I was going through the first album, it feels like that is likely to be the case even among fans. So in any case, a really great track. Looking forward to the rest of the album. Let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.